It is considered genotoxic and a probable human carcinogen, capable of damaging our DNA and increasing the risk of cancer. It is an extremely dangerous chemical, and the discovery of its presence in the foods we eat every day has raised concerns about its health effects. It's not salt, it's not sugar, and it's not even palm oil. We're talking about acrylamide, an organic chemical that forms naturally in starchy foods during high-temperature cooking. Before going to see which foods it is found in and how to reduce its exposure, let's understand better how and when it forms. Acrylamide is formed through the Maillard reaction, a chemical process that occurs when certain sugars, such as fructose and glucose, interact with amino acids, especially asparagine, at temperatures above 248 degrees Fahrenheit. This forms some dangerous compounds, such as acrylamide, which gives foods a dark color, a characteristic toasted appearance, and a crunchy and tasty flavor. It was first discovered in 2002 by scientists working at Stockholm University in Sweden, but it is likely that it has been present in foods since humans invented cooking. High levels of acrylamide have been detected during normal cooking at high temperatures of starchy foods. That is, those that contain a significant amount of starch, the main energy reserve of plants. Among the most important food sources of acrylamide for adults, accounting for about 43% of the average exposure to this substance, are fried potato products, including French fries, roast potatoes, and croquettes. For 34%, we find coffee and its substitutes. In this case, acrylamide is not formed when we prepare coffee at home or in a restaurant, but following a series of chemical reactions that are triggered during the roasting process of coffee beans. Immediately after potatoes and coffee, for 23%, we find soft bread, followed by biscuits, crackers, crispy bread and toast, and finally breakfast cereals. Acrylamide is also hidden in that black crust that forms on pancakes and pizza, especially when cooked in a wood-fired oven, where very high temperatures are reached. Rye and wholemeal flour products in particular produce higher quantities of acrylamide than the same products made with white flour. This is because the bran part of the whole grain has a higher content of asparagine, a key amino acid in the Maillard reaction. Among the cooking methods that most favor the formation of acrylamide, we find frying, toasting, baking, and grilling, as they involve very high temperatures, above 248 degrees Fahrenheit, and a reduced presence of water. Acrylamide is not only produced during home cooking, but is also present in many industrial food products. Not only is it possible to come into contact with it for professional reasons, especially for those who work in sectors such as paper, dyes, and plastics processing, as well as in the textile industry, in foundries, and in construction. Exposure can therefore occur through skin absorption or inhalation. Another major source of acrylamide is tobacco smoke, both active and passive. In fact, it has been found that smokers have levels of acrylamide in their blood 3 to 5 times higher than non-smokers. Once ingested, acrylamide is absorbed from the gastrointestinal tract, then distributed to all organs and tissues, and metabolized mainly into glycidamide. As EFSA, the European Food Safety Authority, points out, this is one of the main metabolites resulting from this process, and is the most likely cause of genetic mutations and tumors observed in animals, particularly those of the mammary and thyroid glands, lungs, stomach, ovaries, and testes. Exposure to acrylamide can also have harmful effects on the central and peripheral nervous system, including paralysis of the hind legs, on pre- and postnatal development, and can negatively affect the male reproductive system. The Italian Association for Cancer Research points out that these experiments were conducted using very high doses of the compound, up to 10,000 times those ingested by people with food, making it difficult to extend the results to humans. So far, studies conducted on humans have provided limited and conflicting evidence of an increased risk of developing cancer, particularly kidney, endometrial, and ovarian cancer. For this reason, the International Agency for Research on Cancer has included acrylamide in Group 2A, that is in that of substances probably carcinogenic to humans. Some studies, conducted on workers exposed to acrylamide for occupational reasons, have also shown an increased risk of nervous system disorders. Its neurotoxicity causes the onset of neuropathies, numbness of hands and feet, ataxia, and gait abnormalities. Since any level of exposure to a genotoxic and probable carcinogen has the potential to damage DNA and promote cancer, EFSA scientists concluded that they could not establish a tolerable daily intake for acrylamide in food. However, the amounts of dietary acrylamide that would need to be consumed for the risk to become a concern are likely incompatible with a varied and balanced diet. However, it is important to avoid unnecessary exposure to this substance, and to reduce dietary exposure as much as possible, EFSA has drawn up a list with a series of suggestions. The general rule regarding cooking food is always to obtain a light browning and never a burn. Whether they are French fries, croquettes, or a slice of bread, you should stop cooking them when they have reached a golden color, avoiding them becoming too brown, or worse still, burnt. Even better, it would be to favor cooking methods that help limit the formation of acrylamide, such as boiling or steaming. This is because lower temperatures and the high presence of humidity limit the Maillard reaction. Keeping potatoes in the fridge usually increases the production of sugars, and therefore the formation of a greater quantity of acrylamide during cooking. For this reason, it is recommended to keep them out of the fridge, away from light and heat. Soaking potato slices in water or in a citric acid solution can also reduce the levels of acrylamide in chips by up to 40% or 75% respectively. Toasting bread for 3 minutes, instead of 5 for example, can reduce the acrylamide content by almost a quarter, depending on the type of bread used and the temperature of the toaster. In conclusion, we have seen that acrylamide and its metabolite glycitamide are probably carcinogenic substances for consumers of all age groups, but in particular in the most vulnerable ones, such as newborns and children. While waiting for further studies that can provide more precise answers, experts recommend limiting exposure to this substance as much as possible. It is therefore important to stop smoking and follow a varied and balanced diet, consuming sufficient quantities of fruit, vegetables, meat and fish, in order to reduce the intake of acrylamide.